to the entertaining Talkin' Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. I want to get a quick video up as there's some pretty big news or potential news for the New York Giants as I received word on Twitter. I want to give a quick shout out to Abrar, one of my best subscribers. Thank you for pointing me to the tweet by Art Stapleton. We'll pull it up in a second. But it seems, at least according to Marc Colombo, that there's a very strong possibility that Nick Gates could and will be the starting center for the New York Giants. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how all training camp plays out. We haven't even seen them put the pads on. And we knew going in that Nick Gates was going to be a part of that competition with Nick Gates, Shane Lemieux, and of course Spencer Pulley. Pulley is the only guy with any legitimate experience at the position. Nick Gates has played some guard. He's played some tackle throughout his tenure in the NFL with the New York Giants. As far as Lemieux goes, he's been a guard, well playing in college. He's never played the center spot, but he's been cross-training with a number of other players on the New York Giants, both on the offense and defense, and that is something that Joe Judge has expressed. Versatility, having players that are able to do multiple things, which is why Gates has bought into it. He's been taking a lot of snaps at the center position, and maybe he will, in fact, be the starting center. We'll pull up the quote in a second. I've talked about this numerous times, and I've pretty much said that I think Pulley will be the starting center to start the year due to the fact of his experience, and Gates, I would think, would be better, more familiar playing at the tackle spot, something that he's done before, and he's done a pretty good job for the New York Giants doing it. It doesn't mean that he can't do a good job at the center position. It would be a little bit unconventional. I've talked about that in the past. Generally, you want your center lower to the ground to be a little, less in a little lower in height and stature. Gates stands at 6'6". Centers are generally 6'2", 6'3", because you want them to be lower to the ground. So he's not necessarily built like the ideal center, but that doesn't mean that he can't get the job done. The one thing that I liked about Gates and the possibility of Gates being on the bench was the fact that he's incredibly versatile. You could stick him at really any one of the 5 spots on the offensive line. Maybe not so much the left tackle, but you could play him at any one of the other 4 spots. And that's why I kind of like the idea of Gates coming off the bench because of his versatility. But that doesn't mean that you lose that. If somebody gets injured or whatever, maybe you can move him around. Maybe you put Pulley at the center if you don't feel Parrott is ready to start, say, if a guy like Fleming goes down, which kind of brings me to the discussion at the right tackle, because after Gates got that extension, I was under the assumption that there was a very high probability that Gates would be starting, but I thought right tackle and Pulley at the center, at least to start the year. But if Gates starts at the center, well, I think that opens up a 2-man competition over there between Fleming and, of course, the third-round rookie, Matt Parrott, out of UConn. Some people have brought up the fact that they think Parrott could start the year at the right tackle spot. I still don't buy into that for the simple reason that, 1, it's a shortened preseason. 2, you've got a second-year quarterback learning a completely new system. Do you really want to throw him out there with 2 rookie tackles? Fleming at least has experience in the league. He's played with the Patriots. He's played with the Cowboys. He's a swing tackle. I expect Parrott to start the year on the bench and to learn. I could be wrong. I could be mistaken. We all like the upside from Parrott from a lot of the things that I've read and you've read. He's got very long arms. He's physical. Some people seem to think he has just as much upside as Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, of course, is a much more established prospect, and I expect him to step in and do a great job at that left tackle spot. But I do think Fleming will be the starting right tackle if Gates is the center. If Gates is not the center and Pulley's the center, I think Gates will be the right tackle. But let's jump into exactly what our offensive line coach had to say from Art Stapleton. Giants offensive line coach Marc Colombo says Nick Gates is the alpha male at the position when he slides in at center. Now read that for what you will, but that's the offensive line coach coming out and saying that. He's not saying that about Spencer Pulley. He's not saying that about Shane Lemieux. He's directly saying he's an alpha male. He's a beast when he's in there at the center spot. So what does that tell me? It tells me that at least there's a high probability that Nick Gates will be the starting center day 1 for the New York Giants, and maybe the Giants knew that when they gave him that extension. Maybe they fully bought into the fact that they think he could get the job done at that center spot for years to come. And I'll tell you what, that would be great if he could. If, he goes out there and he's an average to slightly above average center in the NFL, because then the Giants don't really got to worry about drafting an offensive lineman in next year's draft. I mean, you would have a full offensive line if Gates gets the job done and you believe in Matt Parrott to be the right tackle of your future. Left to right, you'd be situated. Of course, the 2 tackles, you'd have Parrott and you'd have Thomas. The 2 rookies, and at the guards with Zeitler and Hernandez, at least for 1 more year. Zeitler's a free agent after that. And then your center spot would be Nick Gates on a cost-effective deal headed into, I believe, his 3rd season in the NFL. So we'll see how it all plays out. There are a lot of question marks going into training camp, but center is certainly one of them. The others, well, of course, the second cornerback spot, which I've talked about extensively, along with potentially the slot corner as well as the right tackle. But if Gates is the center, I think the right tackle, at least in my opinion, is pretty cut and dry. I would expect Fleming to start there day one, even though I've seen a lot of people speculate that they think it could be Matt Parrott. And I wouldn't completely rule it out. Joe Judge has come out and said that the best guys are going to get the job. But due to some of the factors that I've talked about, I don't know if 2 starting rookie tackles is the best idea in a shortened offseason. But if Barrett's the guy, he's the guy. But from the sounds of it, at least from Marc Colombo, it sounds like Nick Gates may be your starting center headed into the season. And I think that should excite a lot of New York Giants fans because, well, Spencer Pulley is Spencer Pulley. This is the same guy that lost the job last year to John Halapio. The guy is a journeyman center. He's a guy that's probably better situated on the bench that I thought the Giants were going to have to start due to experience and the fact that they were in a pinch. They didn't have any legitimate center on the roster. And as of now, Nick Gates is not a legitimate center either. He's never played the position, but he has done a fine job when given the opportunity at both the guard and the tackle spot. And hopefully he can transition into that center spot and give the New York Giants a push. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.